Hello again everybody, back with another video, this time looking at this Bill Gates character, and I'm calling him a principal Freemasonic deceiver. Now this guy has been playing quite a leading role in pushing the concept, and I'll call it a concept, of viral diseases, epidemics, pandemics, catastrophes. He's been pushing this for years. He's also been pushing vaccines. One of his key roles, as well as leading Microsoft. And back 5 years ago, they made a documentary, a small documentary video, which I will put the link in the description so you can see it, about Bill Gates' main fears. And what he was doing was he was pushing the fear of a viral catastrophe in the world. And him and his cronies had built this computer model, apparently, whereby they mapped out what the effect of a 1918 style flu pandemic would be like today with all the modern transports and the means of passing this virus around. Well, in my view, the 1918 pandemic was also fake, and this has been building up over the time for years with the various other pandemics like SARS and things like that. They have been pushing this and building up to it over at least 100 years now. So let's move on and just explain why this guy is not what you think he is. Now, I'm not getting into his gender, but that could be questionable. But let's take a look at this guy here. And this is just a couple, well, I've got 4 images of him doing this, but there are more. He is pulling the hand sign for the M sign for Mason. Just take a look at this. And this, and this, and this. This is not natural. This, for me, is almost impossible to do. So I could probably never be a Freemason because I can't do that. But this is not natural. This is deliberate. This is the Freemasonic hand sign, or one of them. And if that doesn't convince you, just look at Bill Gates' name in Pythagorean numerology. It's 33 for Masonry. Now let's move on and look at this first documentary, and I'm making comments on this but using text for the comments. If it's moving too quickly, just pause it and read what I've written, please. But this is basically, this video is asking what Bill Gates is afraid of. So let's have a look at what his key fears were back in May 2015.
Why don't you describe for me, as vividly as you can, what it is you're worried about, what it is that the nightmare scenario looks like?
Fortunately, there's very few things, and most of them are very low probability. Some big volcanic explosion, gigantic earthquake, asteroid. But at least in the nuclear case, you've got to say we take it quite seriously. We budget a lot of money, have a lot of people who think about nuclear deterrence, and I'm very glad that work's being done, and I rate the chance of a nuclear war in my lifetime as being fairly low. I rate the chance of a widespread epidemic far worse than Ebola in my lifetime is well over 50%. If we look at the 20th century and we look at the death chart of the 20th century, I think everybody would say, oh yeah, there must be a spike for World War I. Sure enough, there it is, like 25 million. And there must be a big spike for World War II, and there it is, it's like 65 million. But then you'll see this other spike that is as large as World War II right after World War I. And most people, a lot of people would say, well, what? What was that? There's 2 kinds of flus. There's flus that spread between humans very effectively, and there's flus that kill lots of people. And those 2 properties have only been combined into a widespread flu once in history. Well, that is Spanish flu. We have no idea where it came from. It's called the Spanish flu because the Spanish press was the freest. They were the first to talk openly about it. And so in the annals of epidemic history, that's the big event. I funded a disease modeling group that uses computer simulation, and that work has been phenomenal in helping us target our polio eradication resources and which parts of Nigeria should we work harder on. And it's very natural, if you have a group like that, to say, hey, look at something like the Spanish flu in the modern day. Health systems are far better. And so you think, hey, that wouldn't be very bad. Well, we tried it, and there are some assumptions we had to make. But what we showed is that the force of infection because of modern transport, which compared to 1918 is over 50 times as great. And so if you get something like a flu, and you look at that map of how within days it's basically in all urban centers of the entire globe, that is very eye-opening. That didn't happen with Spanish flu in the past. The opportunity to do more than just let it run its course is really only in the last decade. And the Ebola epidemic showed me that we're not ready for a serious epidemic, an epidemic that would be more infectious and would spread faster than Ebola did. This is the greatest risk of a huge tragedy. This is the most likely thing by far to kill over 10 million excess people in a year.
There you have it. Bill is scared of exactly what they've got going on at the moment, what they're hoaxing us with, this coronavirus plandemic. Now, did you see the code? That code was in your face. I've made so many videos on 33 code and 7 code in this crappy hoax they've got running at the moment. And those figures going up, make-believe figures just like we have today. Now, Bill was very concerned back then. What must he be feeling like today? You would think he would be feeling pretty somber, pretty miserable, and also quite cross that this is happening after all these predictions. And you wouldn't certainly expect him to laugh, would you? Let's see how he's behaving right now.
Well, the good news is that China did their shutdown, and they did it in a very serious way. And after a 6-week period of a shutdown that's more extreme than even the best states in the United States are likely to do, they were able to start opening up again. And the total number of cases there is very, very small. So that's very good news. And as people are developing models, they look at that Chinese data, they look at how the South Korean numbers have gotten under control. So we're entering into a tough period that if we do it right, we'll only have to do it once for 6 to 10 weeks. But we have to do it, it has to be the whole country. We have to raise the level of testing and the prioritization of that testing quite dramatically in order to make sure we go through one shutdown so that we take the medical problem and really stop it before there's a large number of deaths. We do then get an economic problem, which is why you want to minimize the amount of time, and having states go at different things or thinking you can do it county by county, that will not work. The cases will be exponentially growing anywhere you don't have a serious shutdown.
So even in, because folks look, people who want sort of county by county or say, you know, let's get back online faster, say, well, look, in some states there's less than 200 cases. In many states there's less than 200 cases right now. You're saying even in those states, the same kind of shutdown needs to occur?
Well, let's say you have 100 cases, and let's say you don't do a shutdown, then it grows 33% per day. So you take 100, you get 1,000, you get 10,000. It's exponential growth. If you're not stopping it, the sooner you engage in the shutdown, the easier it is to get to that peak. We have not peaked. You know, the parts of the country that aren't shut down, in late April, we should start to see the numbers peak there. They'll still be too high to open up. So you'll probably have to go another month to really get those numbers down. But any part of the country that has cases, and truthfully, because of our problems with testing, because we're not prioritizing testing the right way, that a lot of those places actually do have cases. But even if they have the 100, that will grow, and people do cross county boundaries. And so basically the whole country needs to do what was done in the part of China where they had these infections.
Well, he did find that rather amusing, didn't he? That all these thousands and thousands of people are dying. He's so pleased about it. But are they really dying? There are people dying. The death rates are pretty high in the world. Easy to hide some figures and make them up as you go along too. They're all made up. This isn't real. But if it was real and they'd modelled all this up on modern day transport, don't you think they would have stopped what's going on? In this image you can see here, this was taken yesterday of all the flights in the world using Flight Tracker, and just look at all the flights still going on. Now, they're locking people effectively in their houses. People can't go to work in some areas, not allowed out of the house, but they are allowed to fly people round in tin cans from country to country. And America looks absolutely littered with aircraft flying around. Now, if you wanted anywhere where you keep people in a closed environment with air circulation, all sat really close to each other, spreading bugs, then that would be the first thing that would cause lots and lots of infections if they were real. Why are they still flying all these aeroplanes around? I'll tell you why, because it isn't real. This virus thing isn't real. This is a hoax. And Bill, with his laughing face there, is telling you exactly what it is. So I'm going to finish on this one, but I will now give a brief plug for the backup channel. Quite a few people have asked in the comments, do you have a backup channel? Well, there is one. It's Matrix Breakout 7. I did skip 7 because of the obvious 7 code there, but I decided to go back and fill in the gap and make Matrix Breakout 7 the backup channel. Now, 6 channels have been deleted. The last one, MB6, went without any warning at all, just got removed. The excuse, multiple violations of whatever YouTube's code of conduct or ethics. I don't think they've got any of those. But this channel could disappear. A lot of channels trying to promote the truth of this thing, I just fear could be cold very quickly. So if you could, please go across and subscribe to the backup channel. So that's it for now. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.